I started racing when I was 13 years old. I started on the dirt track. I raced out on the dirt until I was 16. I was old enough to race out here at Colorado National Speedway. And then I started racing out here, and I've been out here and out traveling ever since.
I've been in racing a little over 4 decades. I started when I was 4 years old in Cleveland, Ohio, and just kind of picked up a passion for the sport. Kind of the same thing Mark talks about, where you get it in your blood and it just kind of keeps going a little bit. And as I grew in, got into my teenage years, did a little bit of driving, and then we moved from Ohio to Colorado, and I kind of moved away from it for a few years, and then got back involved. And ever since then, it's been 25 years, and about half of that owning race cars.
47 PJ Materano is in the fence. Two of the cars, the 82 Michael Scott and the 25 Monty Skinner in turn 3 with a crash.
I would like to say that I can avoid most crashes. We drove through 3 or 4 pretty major ones in Vegas and made it through without these crashes. But I've been in my fair share as well. Probably my worst wreck was out here in a pro truck. Actually was knocked unconscious for a minute or so. So that was certainly the worst wreck I've taken. But it just comes with it. We're safer in these cars than we are driving down the interstate or walking down the street. We do rely heavily on the rest of the race team, and they all become family at the end of the day too. The old 242 car, that was my very first race car. That's where it started for me. So that car's been around for a long time. It's won a lot of races. Between my dad driving it, I drove it, my brothers even raced it. So there's a lot of heritage and a lot of family, a lot of history in that car. And it just so happened to survive the test of time somehow. Usually cars, old dirt super stocks like that, they don't last long. They get destroyed, you throw them away. For some reason, that thing has just never left our family. It's been kind of like a mosquito that just won't leave you alone. It just keeps coming back. So we had it, was kind of lingering, and I'll give it to Kevin. He had this vision of us getting it back together and racing it and having fun doing it, taking it out to the track, maybe let one of the crew guys get behind the wheel. I've always wanted Kevin to get behind the wheel because I think it'd be funny. Just get it going again, keep the heritage going. It'd be really sentimental for my whole family to see that thing go again. It's fantastic having family. I wouldn't rather have it any other way. I'm pretty blessed, that Kevin has allowed my family to be a part of it. It's always been that way for me. I've always had my dad and my brother for most of my racing career on my team, and then mom and girlfriend all part of that as well. So it's a blessing. There's no negatives to it that I can say. But we do rely heavily on the rest of the race team as well, and they all become family at the end of the day too. So I like to look at it as one big family, but certainly I'm blessed to have my dad and brother a part of the program too. Compare racing to really any competitive thing that you do. It teaches you discipline. It teaches that competitive spirit that you get from sports. It teaches the camaraderie side of it. Racing is not just my name may be on the side of the car, but it's an entire team. So it teaches that camaraderie. It teaches us to rely on each other. And once you get into racing, it's one of those things that just you don't get that feeling doing anything else. You don't get even the shot nights. I kind of compare it to going to the bar and sitting with a bunch of buddies. The only thing we're not doing is drinking, but we're down there, shooting the crap with each other, having a good time, giving each other a hard time, laughing. We have a lot of fun doing it. So it's there's a lot of things that get accomplished and a lot of good things that come out of racing in general. I've had close buddies of mine that they used to say, well, it's cool that you race because you could probably have a beer in your hand while you're racing, at the same time. So I'm sure it's been a joke. A lot of people don't understand the blood, sweat, and tears that go into not only the physical part of being behind the wheel, but they don't see the 2 or 3 nights a week that we're putting in the shop. And none of the work that we do is easy. It's all time consuming. It's physically difficult and challenging for people. So it's a lot more than just sitting behind the wheel and turning left. And anybody who questions that, I would always invite them to come out to the racetrack, come hang out with us in the pits and see what it's all about. See how sweaty I am after the races are over. I'll make sure that they realize how difficult things really are. Favorite part of racing? It's got to be the competition. I'm a super competitive guy. I love to win. I hate losing probably more than I love to win. So I love that competitiveness behind it. I love the camaraderie that comes with that. I love the fact that all of us have to work together to be successful. So it's, you know, when you're strapped in the car, getting ready to roll out for a main event, that feeling that you have, that fire that's burning is just something that you just can't get anywhere else. It's just, you know, I think the crew guys get it when they're, you know, they're getting ready to watch their car go on the track, and Kevin has emotions behind it, I have emotions behind it, and it's just that competitive fire that you get racing is it's unquenchable, and something that you don't get that in other places.
I played competitive sports, done a lot of different things, and enjoy that level of competition, but I've never found anything as competitive as super late model racing, and building the team and putting the people together and finding how to get every detail and every aspect of the race team to work together and be successful and move and watch this kind of take its own shape and form and build into something that's a winning tradition. And now I have a 5-year-old son, Austin, who's begun his racing career in quarter midgets.
What kind of car do you race?
Quarter midget.
What's your favorite part about racing?
I won my first race.
What's your favorite number, Austin? 10? That number too? Like 40.
How do you get pumped up and ready to race?
Eat
What's your favorite food to eat before you race?
mac and cheese.
Who's your biggest fan?
Mark.
Mark.
Good job, Austin! Good job, buddy! Good job!
We're really excited about the future. You know, I think we've had a great first decade, if you will, as Rocky Mountain Motorsports. The addition of Mark and all the new crew members has been huge for us in the last 5 years, 4 to 5 years. And so we just see that momentum continuing to build, and that's really why I love to do it. It's a labor of love. It's not something that you're going to retire doing, but it's a passion that you acquire, and you just can't stop building and saying, hey, how do we make this better and how do we improve? Ultimately, you want to pull into a racetrack somewhere and everybody knows what's about to unload, right? Everybody knows what car is coming out, and they do somewhat have a fear for that car. They know that we're going to be really competitive, that we can challenge for the win, and we're going to have to be somebody that needs to be dealt with during the weekend. And so ultimately we want to go, there's probably a half dozen to a dozen what we consider crown jewel races. They're top notch. You get the best drivers, best teams. We want to be able to go there and compete. And there's no doubt in my mind we have the absolute 100% best team in super late model racing from a personnel standpoint. That sounds easier than it is to assemble that. And our equipment's getting there. Our driver is right there on the cusp of being a top 10 guy anywhere in the country.
1, 2.